August 26, 2025. The small village of Boissy-la-Rivière in Essonne may not often find itself in the national spotlight, but today it does. Against the backdrop of its quiet fields and narrow streets, the French Democratic Confederation of Labour, the CFDT, gathers for its summer university. It is here, in this modest setting, that a powerful message is delivered about France's future, its workers, and its democracy. At the centre of the story is Marylise Léon, General Secretary of the CFDT, one of France's largest trade union confederations. Standing before delegates, her words are sharp, clear, and urgent. They come just days after Prime Minister François Bayrou warned the nation that the 2026 budget would bring what he called blood and tears. For Bayrou, austerity is the necessary answer to mounting debt and economic uncertainty. For Léon, that prescription is not only mistaken, it is dangerous. 0005 to 00045, Marylise Léon declares in her speech, "We are already in a period of political instability. We are in a period of economic difficulties, in a budgetary situation that is complicated, and a social issue is coming back to the forefront. So we truly have a challenge to soothe this democracy, and thus, my role is to say that there is another possible path. There are other budgetary choices that can be made, and we can respect the recognition and dignity of workers by making other choices. And it is not inevitable to say, we promise you blood and tears, and that's how it will be." It is a striking intervention. With these words, Léon does more than challenge the government's economic orthodoxy. She reframes the debate entirely. Where Bayrou speaks of inevitability, she speaks of alternatives. Where Bayrou forecasts pain, she insists on dignity. This clash is not simply rhetorical. It reflects two competing visions of France's future. On one side, a government determined to reassure markets, ratings agencies, and international creditors by demonstrating fiscal discipline at any cost. On the other, unions and workers fearful that they will once again bear the brunt of cuts, job losses, and reduced public services. France's economic difficulties are undeniable. Growth has stalled, debt has climbed, and pressure from the European Union to adhere to strict fiscal rules continues to mount. The Prime Minister has made clear that without difficult measures, France risks losing credibility on the world stage. But Léon reminds her audience that economic credibility cannot come at the expense of social cohesion. If workers are asked only to endure suffering, she warns, then democracy itself is weakened. Her speech evokes memories of past struggles in France, of the Gilets jaunes protests, of the strikes against pension reform, of the countless moments when economic pressure spilled into the streets. Those movements revealed the raw frustration of citizens who felt ignored, undervalued, or sacrificed for the sake of abstract numbers in government reports. Today, Léon taps into that same undercurrent of anger, but also into a sense of possibility. She does not deny the seriousness of the fiscal challenge. Instead, she argues that choices still exist. Another path, she insists, is possible, a path that emphasizes investment in jobs, training, and innovation, a path that seeks fairness in taxation, ensuring that the burden does not fall only on those least able to carry it, a path that upholds, in her words, the recognition and dignity of workers. Her message resonates strongly with the CFDT delegates, but its impact is felt far beyond this hall in Boissy-la-Rivière. Across France, ordinary citizens watch this confrontation unfold with a mix of anxiety and hope. Anxiety because the government's warnings of austerity are real and the pain could be deep. Hope because Léon gives voice to an alternative, one that suggests France need not simply accept hardship as destiny. The phrase blood and tears, borrowed from a language of wartime sacrifice, becomes a symbol of the stark divide. For Bayrou, it is a warning of reality. For Léon, it is an unacceptable surrender to fatalism. By rejecting it, she positions herself not merely as a trade union leader, but as a national voice for those who fear being left behind. Behind this debate lies the broader question of French democracy itself. Léon reminds her audience that social unrest is not just an inconvenience, it is a warning sign. When citizens lose faith that their voices matter, when they feel decisions are imposed without fairness, democracy erodes. Her call to soothe this democracy is not just about calming tempers. It is about restoring trust in the institutions of the Republic. Bayrou, for his part, faces a daunting challenge. His premiership was meant to stabilise a fragmented political landscape, yet the scale of France's debt and the constraints of international finance have left him with few easy options. His rhetoric of sacrifice reflects that bind, but Léon's rebuttal exposes the political risks of his approach, that in seeking to reassure global markets, he may destabilise his own country. Economists remain divided. Some echo Bayrou's call for discipline, arguing that without swift action, France risks a debt spiral that could undermine its sovereignty. Others agree with Léon, insisting that austerity would choke growth and deepen inequality, worsening the very problems it aims to solve. What is clear is that this confrontation will shape the months ahead. The CFDT is not alone. Other unions, opposition parties and civil society groups are watching closely, ready to mobilise if they feel the government's budget punishes workers unfairly. The autumn could bring not only parliamentary battles, but mass demonstrations in the streets of Paris, Lyon and Marseille. Léon's words, "another path possible," may well become a rallying cry, a slogan not just for the CFDT, but for a wider movement determined to show that fiscal responsibility and social justice are not mutually exclusive. For many, her speech in this small village feels like the opening act of a much larger political drama. For now, the story is still unfolding. Bayrou's budget will be unveiled in the coming weeks, and the details will matter. Will it include protections for workers, investments in jobs, measures to ease the cost of living, or will it rely heavily on cuts, sacrifices and austerity? The answer will determine whether Léon's challenge remains a union demand or ignites a broader national resistance. As the delegates rise in applause, the contrast between the Prime Minister's grim warning and the union leader's hopeful defiance could not be sharper. In that contrast lies the future direction of France itself: austerity or alternatives, sacrifice or dignity, inevitability or possibility.
On est déjà dans une période d'instabilité politique, on ne va pas se cacher derrière son petit doigt. On est dans une période de difficultés économiques, on est dans une situation budgétaire qui est compliquée et une question sociale qui revient sur le devant de la scène. Donc on a un vrai sujet d'apaiser cette démocratie. Et donc moi, mon rôle, c'est de dire qu'il y a une autre voie possible, il y a un autre chemin possible, il y a d'autres choix budgétaires qui peuvent être faits et on peut respecter la reconnaissance, la dignité des travailleurs et des travailleuses en faisant d'autres choix. Et ce n'est pas une fatalité de dire on vous promet du sang et des larmes et c'est comme ça que ça va se passer.
Il y aurait des conséquences.